I was born in Enid, Oklahoma, the daughter of a Presbyterian pastor. My grandfather was a pastor, my uncle too. Church wasn't a Sunday activity for us. It was our neighborhood, our language, our air. I sang in the choir when I was 3. I prayed to God the Father every night. I believed He listened. I believed He carried me through every exam, every fear, every lonely corner. I would put a cross on my desk before a test and whisper, "God, please," and I felt seen. That was my world, solid, certain, safe. I grew up with hymns and sermons and fellowship halls, and I loved it. 5. I was that girl in university who still sang in the Christian band on weekends. But life carried me. I started appearing on television at 12. Cameras, lights, the electricity of an audience, it was intoxicating. After finishing my master's degree, I went to Thailand with my father. He had to travel, so I stayed on. I saw an ad for Miss Thailand, applied on a whim, placed in the top 5, and suddenly doors opened faster than I could walk through them. Commercials, endorsements, sets that hummed with money and risk and beauty. One job took me to Malaysia, then another, a reality show, a TV movie about vampires. I had makeup artists and handlers and people to tell me what to wear, how to smile, where to stand. And slowly, something inside me disappeared. It started small. Eggs. I know it sounds silly, but one morning I stared at a plate and realized I couldn't choose how I wanted my eggs. Someone had already chosen for me. Over easy, sunny side, scrambled. I didn't remember when that decision stopped being mine. Then it was my hair. Then the sun. Don't cut it. Don't tan. Don't gain a kilo. Don't lose one. I was the face, the image, the product. My agency paid well, and every billboard screamed that I was winning. But in the quiet, I felt enslaved. I felt depression creeping up the walls of my heart. I would look in the mirror, every eyelash perfect, the kind of beauty people spend fortunes to sculpt, and ask, who am I? Where did I go? When you are empty and known, the emptiness is louder. You try to feed it with applause, with more shoots, with nicer hotels, with people who call you beautiful and pretend to know you. But I knew the truth. I was being scripted, even offset. I said yes because the script said yes. I laughed because the script needed laughter. I was a moving cutout of a girl named Eliza, and the real Eliza was suffocating. I needed spirituality, not success. I needed a God who could find me in the dressing room at 4 a.m. with eyelashes glued on and dignity peeling off. I started where I had always started, Christianity. I bought books, stacks of them. My father joked I was heading to seminary. Maybe I was, in my heart. I wanted to be an adult believer, not just a pastor's child who inherited faith like an old family Bible. I asked hard questions. Which was the first church? How did they worship? If there are hundreds of denominations, each so sure, how do I know which one carries the truth cleanly? I asked about the Bible's compilation. Who chose what stayed and what was cut? How does a book from God become a table where men debate and decide? Why is the history so bloody? Why did power and politics shape so much of what people believed? And I saw gaps in myself. Saturday night, I might be out dancing, and Sunday morning, I would be in the pew singing about holiness. I didn't hate Christianity. I wasn't rebellious. I was searching, sincerely, for a straight path that didn't leave me double-minded. In Malaysia, something new happened. I met someone who prayed 5 times a day. I had never seen that. Not dinner prayers or bedtime prayers. Appointments with God across the day, like breath. I watched him excuse himself, wash, stand, bow, whisper. My heart said, you, a pastor's daughter, can't remember the last time you intentionally stopped your day to kneel. He invited me to a lecture at an Islamic center by Sheikh Hussein Yi. I didn't know what to wear. I felt like a model crashing a library, but I went. He handed me booklets, thin, unassuming, arranged somehow perfectly for the corridors of my mind. I turned pages and my breathing changed. Stories of prophets I already loved, but without the fog. Abraham, now Ibrahim. Moses, Musa. Jesus, Isa. Names shifted, but the line was unbroken. Tawheed, the oneness of God. No partners, no intermediaries. God above all, near to all. Islam wasn't a new invention. It was the original submission that began with Adam. I felt alignment for the first time in years. The values were clean. They matched something deep in me that had survived the cameras. I decided if I ever become Muslim, I will do it right. I will learn Arabic, memorize Quran, study Hadith, perfect the prayer. I won't say words I can't live. Perfectionism disguised itself as piety. I planned to shadow a Muslim woman for a week, see if I could wake before dawn, cover my hair, fast, be still. Then I met a teacher named Ustaz Sharif. He asked what I had learned. I poured out my heart, what made sense, what I feared, why I was waiting. He listened with a kindness that didn't press and didn't flatter. When I finished, he looked at me and said, "Eliza, I think you know a lot. I think you should enter Islam now." I laughed, a little panicked. I have an appointment with a volunteer. I'm not ready. I still need to learn Arabic and Quran and prayer, everything. "How long will that take?" he asked gently. 20 years? 30? 50? I didn't have an answer. Perfection had no timeline. It only had delay. Then he said words that broke me open. "Eliza, don't you know that Allah reserves that depth of knowledge for those who have submitted?" I cried because I knew. I knew my waiting wasn't humility. It was pride dressed in wisdom. I wanted to control the staircase to God. I wanted to arrive polished. But what if arrival begins with surrender, not achievement? Two thoughts entered my heart, clear as dawn. If Allah brought me this far, He will take care of my parents. And if I keep analyzing without acting, I am boasting about proximity I do not have. He asked, "Are you ready?" I thought, if God wants this for me, who am I to resist? And I said the words. I testified there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is His messenger. I felt it in my body, a tingle from head to toe, like an old garment falling, a new breath rising, a soft hum in my ears, a pinkness at the edges of my vision, a lightness I had never felt, not even under the brightest lights of any set. Freedom, not the kind sold in magazines, but the kind that makes you honest and small and safe. Asr came. They showed me wudu, how to wash hands that had signed too many contracts, a face that had worn too many masks, feet that had walked too many rooms pretending to be someone else. I stood and followed a friend's motions, my first prayer. That night at Maghrib, I learned to stay longer in prostration, to whisper my life into the floor and trust it rises straight to the one who made me. I asked for one thing, again and again. "Oh Allah, please let my parents accept me as their Muslim daughter." I didn't miss a prayer after that, not because I was afraid of punishment, but because I was finally breathing on purpose. Days became punctuated by turning back to the one, by letting the world shrink while the heart widened. A year later, over dinner, I told my father. The plate between us, the weight of every hymn I had ever sung, and the courage God had grown in me. He listened. He smiled, gently, like he did when I was 5 and had brought him a crayon drawing of God and clouds. He said, "If you believe in the God of Abraham as I do, I am happy. And if this religion strengthens your heart and gives you peace, then go for it. Don't worry about me, your mother, or the family." He reminded me we already had Buddhists and Catholics and Protestants in our family. Now we would have a Muslim. My mother's acceptance followed like a soft rain. I believe Allah placed that ease in their hearts because for a year I had placed that request in His hands. I found a new family too. People who called me sister without knowing my past, who didn't measure me by magazine covers, but by how often I returned to God after mistakes. At brother and sister felt like a language game. Now it feels like home. I covered my hair and found my voice. Strange, isn't it? They told me hijab would silence me. Instead, it made people look me in the eyes and listen. It guarded me from the slavery I used to call freedom. Men lowered their gaze out of respect for me and for their Lord. Doors were held not because I was weak, but because I was honored. I learned the difference between being showcased and being cherished. They say Islam oppresses women. I used to believe whatever scripts told me. Now I read the book and the life of the prophet, and I walk the streets, and I know God honored me. He placed the weight of provision and protection on men and lifted from me the need to prove my worth by exposure and exhaustion. He gave me laws not to box me in, but to draw the path where my feet won't bleed. I love the rules because they make the world legible. I love the prayer because it reminds me who I am. I love the Quran because it speaks to the questions that once kept me sleepless. I love that when I touch my forehead to the ground, nothing stands between me and the one who sees me. No agent, no camera, no costume, no script. I used to be edited to fit other people's visions. Now I am being refined to fit God's. Submission didn't erase me. It returned me to myself. The girl who sang to God at 3 is still here, but now she knows his name in the language of every prophet. Now she knows that freedom is obedience, that dignity is modesty, that love is truth. I once asked, who is Eliza? Today I answer, I am a servant of Allah, a daughter who prays for her parents, a woman who stands when the call is made and bows when the world demands I stand tall for the wrong reasons. I am no longer a product. I am a person. And every day, 5 times a day, I remember the day I finally came home.